supporters decked the halls now that a mayor found his cojones. Not going to say it. Earlier today, New York City Mayor Eric Adams met with incoming Trump border czar Tom Homan to address the city's very terrible illegal migrant crisis. It's the first time Homan sat down with a Democrat mayor. They talked about improving public safety by deporting criminal illegal aliens and those who pose security threats. And they'll deal with Stuart Varney later. And here's Adams talking about the meeting and how it went.
We're not going to be a safe haven for those who commit repeated violent crimes against innocent migrants, immigrants, and longstanding New Yorkers. That was my conversation today with the border czar to figure out how do we go after those individuals who are repeatedly committing crimes in our city.
To his credit, Mayor Adams, who is a Democrat, has been critical of the lack of federal help under Biden. In fact, even as I speak, George Clooney is writing a nasty op-ed about him. Which is why Adams recently expressed a willingness to work with the Trump administration to close migrant shelters and deport criminals. After all, violent criminals should be sent to where they belong, San Francisco. Andrew, I was thinking this morning, and I'll just put it out here for you to comment on. Do you think he's giving people cover to do what they may have wanted to do in the past, but they felt they couldn't because of politics? And so he's saying, I'll take the heat. You have to do what I'm going to say because you're going to need to be for what's going to happen.
Yeah, and people want to do that. So that's a really good observation. But I will say in the case of in case of Mayor Adams, I think it was the opposite. I think he actually spoke out too early. Then the investigations against him started, and I think this is nothing more than him doing a real big public 180 to try and go for that pardon, right?
In fact, on the day that he got indicted, it was the day that he was flying, he was on the plane on the way to go see Biden at the White House to talk about migrant crisis issues, and he had to turn the flight around and come back. I don't know if it was coincidence or not, but yeah. Yeah,
and I also think that's something that's completely unrelated, but I'm going to say it anyway. We got to mention that Adams is a vegan.
Yes, and he looks good in his suits.
Look, he's a strong.
What do you think?
Vegan.
Are you for vegans? Like, do you cook vegan for people if they want it?
I would cook a vegan.
Okay.
Definitely. But I also, I pictured that for some reason. I also think that Adams, there was a huge missed opportunity here because if Adams showed up at this meeting with like a big old blonde comb over, just totally emulating Trump and started speaking like him, he would have been all in on that pardon immediately. You could have bought the pardon online on like Fiverr or something.
Kat, is the enemy of your enemy all of a sudden your friend?
Well, I think that it's, people have gotten so extreme with, the enemy. This is the enemy. You can't sit with the enemy. People have actually talked about this as if it's like, okay, Eric Adams is now a super Trump guy, and how dare he? What is he supposed to do? He's been saying this is a problem here in New York City. I feel like my hands are tied. I feel like I don't have the resources to deal with it. I'd like to start exploring options for how I can help make my city safer to get specifically violent criminals off of this. Again, should be a very non-controversial goal, right? To get non-violent criminals off the streets of New York, let alone the fact that a lot of these people, taxpayers, are paying for them to also have things here. But I don't think this should be controversial at all. And I think it's good to see any politician, anytime you see them saying, I'm willing to work with someone who has a different letter next to their name or is from an administration with a different letter next to their name to do what's best for my constituents. It shouldn't be that controversial. It really shouldn't.
It is weird that this is actually a news topic, that two people could sit down and say, how do we get illegal criminals off of our streets?
Yeah, two people who have committed their lives to law enforcement talking about enforcing the laws. Whoa, radical idea. I want to push back. I don't think he's seeking a pardon. I think we need to start thinking about the weaponization of the DOJ. We saw it with President Trump. You think when he decided to go against the grain, they wouldn't use it towards him? It's not like Bragg and the other ones have nothing else to do with their time. It's not like they're prosecuting real criminals in the street. I firmly believe when he took the job as mayor, he tried to be in line. I always think of it in the movie Tombstone, where Wyatt Earp's brothers looking around, seeing the crowd in the streets, and no one wanted to get involved. And he's like, damn it, we need law and order. And I think he finally decided, I'm a policeman first. And even if that means I don't get reelected again, I got women and children not safe in the streets. And he decided to do something about it. And we need to really look at why wouldn't the governor support protecting the streets? Not just from illegals, but from American citizens. Half the stuff we're seeing is out 21 times, out the day up. Yeah. And he's a police officer, and he's trying to bring law and order back. And President Trump, and his whole thing has been to bring back law and order. So, of course, he's going to support Mayor Adams, not because they're going to sit down and have a, what do vegans eat? I don't know, tar pudding or whatever the hell it is.
Like a cauliflower steak.
Like rabbit-free lettuce. I don't know. But whatever it is, but they do agree on one thing. President Trump's presidency means nothing if the country's not safer. All that fighting and struggle goes for nothing. So Mayor Adams, doesn't matter if he's Democrat or Republican. Policemen don't care whether you're a donkey or an elephant. All they care is either one's not breaking the law. So I think that's what this is about.
Yeah, and Jeff, I was thinking about you today because you've been coming to the city over the last several years, and you must have noticed a terrible difference.
Yeah, well, I also think the way that people look at this stuff is strange. They go, oh, they're not just coming, you know, like, oh, the deportation of the criminals. I think, yeah, but if you're just in a country illegally, that's a crime. You know that that's a crime. I can't just go to other countries and go, I live here now. That would be illegal. Being illegal is a crime. I don't know how people don't understand that. They're also, like, sweet about it. Here's an analogy young people might get. What if you spent 10 grand to see Taylor Swift, you know? And then you're very excited to see her, maybe get to get a picture with her or something, or look at her. But then instead they just fill the stadium with, I don't know, 100,000 people, you know, that free tickets, and then they get free sweat. They don't even want to see Taylor Swift. They're wearing Selena Gomez shirts. Oh. They're talking about how the show sucks and Taylor Swift sucks. You'd probably get a little bitter, like, hey, how did this happen? Get them the hell out.
Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Indeed, I agree. Did you go to
upset, right? I think.
Did you go to a Taylor Swift concert?
No, but if I paid to see one, I'd want to see it.
You'd want to see it. Of course. Want to see it. Did anybody here go? Anybody here?
No.
Wow, the silence is deafening. Okay.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.